Today we're going to be doing a 100-hour service on a 2022 Suzuki 150. This one we'll be doing by water. The commute, as you can see, was rough. So I managed to get my boat pulled up behind his and his motor trimmed up to make sure that when any boats pass by, we're not bouncing or banging anything up. We're going to start with the lower unit. As you can see, it's pretty easy. There's 3 bolts on this side, and there are 3 more on the other. I would recommend taking pictures of the trim tab so you have a noted location of where it is. Once you pull this first bolt out, there'll be a larger bolt underneath. That is the last bolt to hold the lower unit on. The other thing I did is I went ahead and wrapped rope around the lower unit to hold the prop in place. That's one thing you don't want moving. I know I've seen other people, just take the prop completely off. I left it on for something to hold on to for the rope, as well as tying a safety rope to make sure that if I did for some reason drop the lower unit, that it wouldn't go overboard. Once you start pulling the bolts out, leave the top bolt in. I backed it out to where it was very loose, just enough to where it was grabbing on there to keep the lower unit from sliding back. As you're sliding back, there is a gear shift coupler right in front of the lower unit that you want to, as you slide the lower unit down, take a pair of channel locks and just go ahead and just slide it up. That whole rod will stay in there as long as you as you wiggle it down, just kind of move that coupler up. I went ahead and had sawhorses prepared, as well as a couple 2x4s and 2 pieces already strapped together to go ahead and just make a bench to put the lower unit in. So I had it upright. This does make it a little challenging to get the lower unit oil out. That's one thing I didn't want to do is pull the gear oil out over the water. So that was another reason why I went ahead and just pulled the lower unit. Then we'll go ahead and get the water pump pulled off the housing. We'll get everything lubed up, get the oil drained or the gear lube drained and put back in. Here's a quick close-up of the gear shift where the coupler comes off. Keep in mind this is only 100 hours on this motor, and I started seeing scarring already inside the housing. The kit came with a new housing and the bottom plate, which normally you wouldn't have to replace. I'm going to go ahead and replace it. Going back together with it, take that housing and spin it in the direction of your impeller to make sure things are right, and that's a quick close-up of the gear shift. So I went ahead and popped the bottom plug out, and then I went ahead and popped the top plug out, not the oil plug, the top plug, to allow it to drain out faster. Make sure you do not swap the top and the bottom plug, as the bottom plug has a magnet on it. I went ahead and put the lower unit back on. I kept a bolt handy just to get one started. It went right in just because I didn't move the prop or the gear shifter. Now time to start on the fuel filter. I didn't have a fuel filter wrench, so I went ahead and used some channel locks with a rag, and I applied very light pressure. It came right apart with no issues. The only piece that needs to be removed is that bottom housing for the intake. Now it's time to swap the anodes on the back of the engine block. There are 3 of them there, and then 2 more on the right side. Pretty easy to do. And then make sure you clean the block out itself. Since I'm doing this over the water, I went ahead and used an oil pump to just insert through the dipstick. Made sure I measured it out properly to make sure I removed 2.5 gallons of, or 2 gallons and a half a quart of oil. Hey guys, quick tip. See this mount here? This is right here, right above your oil filter. It's hard to see. You can only touch it by feel. So once you get your oil filter off, drop that oil filter down just like that. Go ahead and take this off to give yourself space. Leave it off. Drop your new oil filter back in here, and then go ahead and put your bracket back on. That'll save your fingers and allow you space to get that oil filter in and out. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope this was informative. Please leave me comments and subscribe if you like the material.